It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
This is the part that gets me excited because we came up with 3 things you need to focus on to get the journey right. This really is experience share time, where we're now going to tell you the 3 components you can control that will actually help you build that successful small business. And the first one is, and this is foundational, is your mind right? And guys, I want to expand on this because this is one of those things where, like I said, there's entire industries that are preying upon the aspirational small business owners, entrepreneurs, and the fact that they make you feel good. They tell you all the awesomeness of it. But the first thing you have to do is make sure your mind's right. Are you willing to do what others are not willing to do? Remember, 92% of the public, this ain't for them. So you have to first make sure, are you willing to do the work that others aren't? Remember what I was talking about earlier? 10,000 hours or 5 years of your life will probably be devoted to this. It's going to disrupt a lot of your personal life work balance. It's not healthy in the beginning. So make sure you have your mind right, that you'll do the work that others aren't willing to do. Are you willing to do the unsexy side of business? We all see the Instagram and the Twitter, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into organizing a business too.
Yeah, I think one of the, a lot of folks, their first foray into small business, and this is sort of like a little microcosms, like real estate. Like, I want to be a real estate person. That's great. And you think about, oh, I'm going to get the tenants, I'm going to get this mailbox money, and the thing is going to pay for itself. Have you thought about what happens when, like, there's a noise in the crawl space and you got to be the one to crawl down in there? Or what, 2 o'clock in the morning when the phone rings because the hot water heater is leaking or the air conditioning or heat went out? Have you thought about, with your small business, whether it's customer complaints or returns or regulations or government or whatever the thing is, have you thought about all the things that aren't the fun parts of the business? Everyone wants to think, oh, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to create an idea, I'm going to sell a thing, and it's going to impact the person on the other end of that. That's the fun part, but that's not 100% of what small business is. So you have to make sure that, again, from a mindset standpoint, you're not only thinking about the positives, you're not only thinking about the rosy stuff, but you've put serious time in considering the downsides of entrepreneurship, the downsides of small business ownership.
Yeah, I mean, the Instagram and all the social media posts is where the sizzle and the sexy is, but the success is actually sitting in the kitchen with the accounting and all the organizational stuff that we'll get into in a minute. I think more folks are more in love with the idea of being an entrepreneur than the actual work of being an entrepreneur. And that's the part you want to make sure you figure out. Are you the real deal, or are you just a wannabe?
Now, this is maybe unkind, but I do this thing sometimes. I have a lot of buddies that are dreamers, and they come up with all these great ideas of all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, awesome, I love that. And then I start kind of asking them some questions, just sort of walking through, well, how are you going to do this? Well, have you thought about this? Well, have you done this? And I'm always amazed for them to be like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. No, you're missing it. You don't get it. I'm like, no, I get it. You don't understand. I think that you have to recognize, it's just what you said, more people like the idea of it than the action of it. So before you decide to jump into that, figure out which side of that line are you on.
So we've got mental preparation, asking yourself the right questions. The next one, this is very important. Is your money right?
Yep.
I mean, because, guys, I think the majority, you heard the stat, and I'm going to repeat it because it's worth repeating. First year, 20% go kaput. You fast forward, and what is it? In the first 5 years, 50% are gone. 10 years, 70% are completely no longer there. It shows me passion ain't getting it done. Talent ain't getting it done. You've got to have more to it. And usually what I've experienced from working in public accounting, as well as helping small business owners set up and structure successful businesses, you have to have the passion, you have to have the talent, and you better make sure you got your financial money household in order too. And this is the part that gets overlooked, is that, look, if you don't have 3 years, a plan that covers the first 3 years out of the chute, you're in trouble. And that's what I did. I mean, I saved for it. I had the idea of starting my business, and then I proceeded to save for 15 months and we lived off of one person's income while my wife was still working, and we stockpiled all that money just so I could shelter my family from how poor we were, all the psychological impact of not having money. You need to have cash to get you through that 3-year period while you're building the business.
Now, it's really interesting you say that, Brian, because you talk about you had this like very severe and tragic life event of losing your father that kind of caused you to move in this direction. But this is what it didn't do. And I think a lot of folks, we think when it comes to starting a small business, entrepreneurship, it's like this Jerry Maguire moment. We write the manifesto and we walk in the office and we just decide one day that we're going to walk out and leave. That was not your experience. To make the jump, to leave, it actually took planning and preparation and saving. And I got to believe, because you said when you started your business, you were in your mid to late 20s, right? Yeah. I got to believe there were things that you were married at the time, right? Yeah. That you and your wife probably wanted to do, trips you wanted to go on, vacations you wanted to take, things that you wanted to do. I imagine one of the things you had to say is, hey, if I really want to be serious about doing this, there are some things I'm going to have to not do right now. There are some sacrifices I'm going to have to make so that we can do that. It takes sacrifice before you even get to the point where you can start sacrificing for a small business. Would you agree with that assessment?
There's sacrifice, there's the savings, and then there's also just preparation. I mean, Bo, I wrote in the notes, QuickBooks.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah, I'll just go buy QuickBooks. I'll rent, I'll do the subscription model. I'll do QuickBooks online. It'll be great. Do you know how to use it? Yep. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody ever thinks about that when they're building this better mousetrap or this small business. And that leads to, and this is a powerful thing. You came up with this one, Bo, and I thought it was great. Are the measurements right?
Yeah, like when you think about small business, have you done what I call the Brian Preston 3-prong approach to business plans, right? Have you come up with your scenario analysis that, okay, this is what I think is going to be the most likely outcome? And that's a fun one to think about. If you didn't think it would be successful, you probably would not be going out on your own. Have you thought about, okay, this is what I think it will most likely look like? And then I think it's okay to think about, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I don't realize that I have this amazing idea? What if I don't realize that I have this hugely inventive thing that's going to change the world? And it's okay to think along those lines. But the third one, and I think the one that's most often missed when someone does a business plan, is they don't think about the broke scenario. Yeah. What happens if I miscalculated? What happens if I'm wrong? What happens if I thought I was going to start my business, make $100,000 a year? What if I never make more than $30,000 a year doing this business? What does that look like? And how long has my preparation afforded me to be able to do that? And have I really thought through realistically how all three of those scenarios might play out in my situation?
So just to kind of pile on to what Bo's saying, I think every great big life decision ought to have those 3 scenarios. Do it. I'm talking about pen and paper. I'm talking about a spreadsheet. You actually create a business plan with 3 scenarios. What I think is going to happen, oh man, I'm going to be rich. Everybody loves doing that one. And then the one that nobody wants to talk about, but it's very important. It's just like you do fire drills, just like when you go on a cruise, you're doing all these muster drills. You want to know what happens if this thing doesn't work. You need to do I'm going to be broke scenario so that you can plan ahead and you're not caught flat-footed. Nobody ever does that. I think most people, like I said, are very aspirational with the goals, and they just jump without doing the actual bridge building or making sure that you land well no matter what scenario comes your way.
I think if you're out there, again, thinking about, okay, I want to start a small business or I want to go into entrepreneurship, I think it would be an amazing idea, an amazing thing to do, to take those 5 sort of headwinds that we laid out and write them out and write out how you'll address each one of those. And then take these 3 ideas right now. Is my mind right? Is my money right? Are my measurements right? And figure out, can you clearly and concisely answer all 3 of those questions? And if you thought through, sort of in a T-chart sort of way, the pros and cons to each one. What are the good sides of this? What are the bad sides? How long will the money last? What happens when the money runs out? How good could this be? How bad could it be? If you actually spend the time working through that exercise, you might be amazed at one of 2 things. Either you talk yourself out of it and say, okay, maybe I wasn't ready for this. Maybe this was, or you may feel even more on fire, more encouraged, more in the belief that you can actually go do this and be successful. I think that'd be a great way to start a business plan if you are thinking about taking the leap.
Yeah, and it was as we transitioned to I have even more planning tips. I do feel like as I'm hearing us talk about, I'm like, man, we sound a little bit like Debbie Downers on this whole concept of business ownership. Well, I mean, but I want to make sure, but I feel like we're your tour guides. You're going on a hike where every other part of your life, it's kind of like also the transition. I'm giving lots of analogies here of high school to college. When you're a student, in high school they spoon feed you a chapter a week. You get to college, you're doing 3 chapters a day, 2 to 3 times a week. And you're like, whoa, I need the preparation to make sure, because I'm worried this is something where you are walking the tightrope without the net, and the fact that you get to the sign that says, hey, before you enter this trailhead, realize there's not going to be any other life. There's not going to be any other, places to get additional supplies for the next 100 miles. You're going to treat that a lot differently than you would on something that says, hey, if you can do this for 5 minutes, you'll be okay. Because that's the way entrepreneurship it is. It is a hike for 100 miles without any post or respite areas that are going to protect you. And I'm just trying to make sure that I'm a good tour guide, not getting you all hopped up on how great it's going to be to go to hike the Appalachian Trail without telling you there are going to be tracks where you don't have any type of respite, so you better go ahead and plan ahead. That's what we're trying to do here.